It is the first complaint about his behavior in the over 20 years he has been at NBC News. We were also presented with reason to believe this may not have been an isolated incident.
NBC News terminated Matt Lauer overnight after a complaint was filed with NBC News Human Resources alleging inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace. Now, we don't know much about that specific allegation, other than the fact that the alleged behavior began during the Olympics coverage in Sochi in 2014, and it reportedly continued after that. Now, NBC News tells us tonight that they found that allegation that they were confronted with on Monday night. They say they found that credible. They say they confronted Matt Lauer with the allegation, and he did not deny it, and that is what led to the process of him being fired. NBC also tells us that Matt Lauer was fired for cause, which implies that he will not be paid out for the rest of his contract, but NBC News is not confirming that implication explicitly one way or the other. NBC News is obviously our parent company here, so we're reporting on this story that's taking place in our own proverbial house. As best as we've been able to report this out today, as far as I personally can tell today, I think these are the open questions that are important as of tonight. The open questions that I should say we expect we should get answers to at some point. First one, obviously, is will there be more people who come forward with accusations about Matt Lauer? Already over the course of today, that has started to happen. After the firing was announced, Variety published accounts from 3 women, separate and apart from the complaint that was made to NBC News on Monday night. According to Variety, quote, Matt Lauer once gave a colleague a sex toy as a present. It included an explicit note about how he wanted to use it on her, which left her mortified. On another day, he summoned a different female employee to his office and then dropped his pants, showing her his... After the employee declined to do anything, visibly shaken, he reprimanded her for not engaging in a sexual act. So that report came out from Variety. Then, shortly thereafter, the New York Times reported tonight that at least 2 more women have come forward to NBC Human Resources today since Matt Lauer's firing was announced this morning. Quote, one complaint came from a former employee who said Mr. Lauer had summoned her to his office in 2001, locked the door, and had sex with her. She told the Times she'd passed out and had to be taken to a nurse. She said she felt helpless because she didn't want to lose her job and that she didn't report the encounter at the time because she felt ashamed. In 2001, the woman said Mr. Lauer, who is married, asked her to his office to discuss a story during the workday. When she sat down, she said he locked the door, which he could do by pressing a button while sitting at his desk. People who worked at NBC say the button was a regular security measure installed for high-profile employees. The woman said Mr. Lauer asked her to unbutton her blouse, which she did. She said the anchor then stepped out from behind his desk, pulled down his pants, bent her over a chair, and had intercourse with her. And then this is the pass out point. Sorry, I've read this twice. Quote, at some point, she said she passed out with her pants pulled halfway down. She woke up on the floor of his office, and Mr. Lauer had his assistant take her to a nurse. The woman told the Times that Mr. Lauer never made an advance toward her again and never mentioned what occurred in his office. She said she did not report the episode to NBC at the time because she believed she should have done more to stop him. She left the network about a year later. On Wednesday, the episode in Mr. Lauer's office was reported to NBC News after the woman told her then supervisor, who still works at the network. The woman said an NBC Human Resources representative has since contacted her. So, we get the news about the firing. The firing happens overnight. We get the news about the firing this morning, and then all of these detailed allegations unfold over the course of today. And those allegations have been, in some cases, reported to NBC News Human Resources, and in several cases, they've been reported out in detail in Variety and the New York Times. So that's one of the open questions here. Will more accusers come forward? Beyond that, though, now that there are multiple allegations involving multiple NBC employees over multiple years, that, of course, raises the question of whether NBC had knowledge of allegations about Matt Lauer in the past. And if so, how were those allegations handled? Today, Variety made a non-specific claim that several women, quote, complained to executives at the network about Lauer's behavior, which fell on deaf ears. Now, NBC News today took issue with that. They responded to that by saying, prior to Monday night this week, quote, we can say unequivocally that prior to Monday night, current NBC News management was never made aware of any complaints about Matt Lauer's conduct. So, NBC News tells us they are, and they have been looking into whether any current or former NBC News executives have received any complaints about Matt Lauer's behavior before what was brought to the network on Monday night. So far, they tell us they have not found evidence of that. They also say that as far as they know, there are no instances of NBC News